Welcome back, guys. We are now in the next part of the tutorial. So in this tutorial we are going to try and make the blade part. This blade part. Only the blade part, not the teeth. Okay? So once again we're going to start like we did for the other parts. We're going to put the cursor in the center, zero it out, and then add a plane while still in object mode, and then we toggle into edit mode, delete everything, and then we're gonna put in the vertices like we did for the other models. So I'm gonna turn everything else off because they are distractions, and then we're gonna try and model as closely as possible by tracing the outline of the sword. Okay. One thing you'll find about making this part of the weapon is that because the blade isn't symmetrical on both sides, like from right to left, therefore we can't just flip it over like we did for the parts down the bottom. So we can't do the same what we did for the hilt and this neck part. Anyway, so let's just get. So I'm basically just tracing out the sword, just the outline. We can worry about the inside special parts later, but for now let's just worry about the outside parts. I'm not going to trace the teeth because the teeth will be reserved for another part of the blade. Okay, so just the outer part. If you're wondering how do I add vertices, it's very simple. You just basically move the cursor to where you want the vertex to be, hold down Control, and then hit left click. And I think I explained that quite clearly in my previous videos. Okay, I want this to be in center, so let's center it. Alright then, so now we have this part. Whoops. Alright then, so what are we gonna do now? So we can't just have a flat blade because that wouldn't seem nice. We want the blade to curve, you know, like to have a bit of to look more 3D, right? Because otherwise it'll just look like a piece of paper. Alright, so what are we going to do? How are we going to do that? Let me think. Alright, I'm going to try and trace this blue part that comes up, and then I'm going to lift this blue part up, and hopefully that will make things look a bit more cooler. So let's give that a go. So starting from here, from the original model, we're going to add vertices. And just tracing the blue outline. That's all we're doing. Nothing special. We've come into a problem here. We can't really. There's only one point we can't connect to. So then, how do we solve this problem? Very simple. Move this up here slightly. And then what we can do is we can go to Tools, Loop, Cut, and Slide. Click here, and you can move this up as well. Like that. So loop, cut, and slide basically adds a slice in between two vertices in edge. So it cuts an edge into two edges, if that makes any sense. You can also use it in faces, and what it'll do is it will cut the face in half. So if you have say like a square plane and you add loop and cut slide, it will cut the plane in half. Alright, so now that we have this, let's join the pieces together and continue our tracing of this blue object. And here comes the fancy part. I'm just going to tweak it to make it a bit more accurate, because I'm just clicking randomly up to now. Alright, and this will join back down here. So to here. So right click here, shift, right click here, and press F. And then A to deselect. Okay, I'm going to lift this part up. Alright, that's gonna form part of the blade. So what we're gonna do is we're going to right click all the parts. In this case you can't use the Alt right click method because it will select everything, and I'll show you. So if I hit Alt and then right click, everything gets selected, and yeah. In cases like these, it's one of those situations where you can't use Alt right click. You just have to select the vertices one by one. And really it becomes a real pain, especially if you have like, I don't know, 200 vertices to click. I'm sure there are faster ways of doing it, but I don't know how to do them as of yet. Alright, I'm gonna leave these two vertices. I'm not gonna lift these two, only because I want the blade to curve down into a sharp edge, if you know what I mean. If I lift these two, it'll become a blunt edge. Okay, so I'm gonna leave these there. I'm just gonna lift these parts. Okay, so to lift them, go to side view, and then I change here. That's the stretch one. We don't want to distort it or stretch it. We want to move it. So change it to this one, and then we can move it forward upwards. And as you can see, this will give you an idea of, oh, we've missed a vertex here. So Control Z, select it again, and then we try again. Oops. Don't worry about that. We can fix that later. Okay. Is it too big? Let's just turn on the others and have a look. I think so. No? Yes? Maybe? Let's make it a bit thinner. Alright. I am happy with how it... I'm happy with this thickness. Okay. Turn everything else back off. And you see this point here? You see this point? It's like a sharp... Well, it's not really sharp angle in math. I mean, it's this awkward turn. We're gonna try and smooth it out. So you click on this, go to bird's eye view, and then you just move it. So it smoothens it out. So you have this nice straight line rather than a kink. Okay? There we go. So that's been done. And then what you want to do now is you just want to check everything else to make sure that there are nice kinks. I don't like this. It looks kinky. Well, not that kinky. You know what I mean. Let's just smooth it out a little bit. And this one as well. Too kinky. Move down. Okay. Beautiful. Now that we have this, let's go in and pop on our... Oh, wait, before we do that, this part here, I'm going to lift this part up, just this part up, only because I'm going to slot in the teeth for the blade. Actually, no, I might lift this as well. Yeah, let's do that. Nah, we'll just lift this part up for now. I mean, if it doesn't work, we can change it later, so it's not a big deal. Not a big deal. So let's move it forwards. Not too much, because we don't want it to exceed the thickness of the blade. Yeah, I think it looks okay. Alright, fun part. Well, not really. Now it's time to add the polygons, or change all the vertices into triangles. Usually I do one side first and then I do the other side later, so... Oh, what was that? Anyway. Nothing happened, so it's okay. All good. Click, click, clickety click. Oh. Let go. Oh, okay. And you can have a rough look on what it's going to look like. Not too shabby. Now we're going to do the center part. Center part. So just change everything to triangles. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. As long as a triangle is, as long as each face is bounded by 3 vertices. I mean, it matters to some degree which vertices you choose, but I mean, for our purposes in this case, it's okay. It's not too bad. So we're doing the other side now. The other side. I think should be okay. So make sure that every vertex has at least, well, make sure every vertex is connected, basically. It gets a bit complicated here, but you just have to think, where are three vertices that I can find that I can make them into a triangle? That's basically what you want to try and think about. Here, here, oops, here, and here. And I think we are done. Are we? Are we done? Are we done? Okay, I think it should be fine. Oops, front view. Give it a face. A, F, not atrial fibrillation. And then switch out of. Yep, so. Yuck. Look at that. That looks gross. Alright, so what we're going to do about that? Very simple. Right click the two areas that make up the edge. X, and then we delete the edge. And now we're going to try and add in a new edge. We're going to see what it looks like now with the new edge. I think the idea is that when you're making these edges, you don't want to make a face that's completely flat. You want to have a bit of tilt, so it looks nicer that way. I don't know if what I'm saying is making any sense, but anyway. Okay, should be fine, I think. What about down here? Okay, this if you look at it from bottom view, you'll see that it's not completely zeroed out. So what we can do is we're going to extrude certain parts of it, and you will know which parts to extrude, because you want this part to be at the same level of this as these 2 points here. But you don't want to include these 2 points themselves in the extrusion. So I just chose everything between. So go back to side view, E to extrude, Y to extrude it on the Y plane, and basically you scale it on the Y plane until you get what you want, which is a flat line. Oops, no, it should be transform, and then you move back to 0. Okay, and then you can join these two afterwards by just clicking on those 3 vertices and hit F to fill it in like cement. Okay, there we go. There we have it. Now it's all nice and flat. And I think there was one other place that wasn't nice and flat, and that was up here, this part, because we lifted it up earlier. So we're going to extrude just this point, E, Y, and then we will make it 0 here on the Y coordinate. Now you will see that we now have three vertices that we can use to make a face. So we're going to do that. Select all 3 vertices by holding down Shift and right clicking, and hit F, just like so. Okay, and I am pretty happy with this model so far. Okay, alright then. Exit out of edit mode into object mode by hitting tab. They call it tabbing out. Tabbing in and tabbing out. And then turn on all the other models to see what it looks like. Not too shabby, I think. I'm just gonna have a look at the window one of the windows down here to make sure that it's okay. Yep, it's okay. And then there's also this awkward looking part, which I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, let's have a look. Ah, because it wasn't smooth enough. Oops. Alright, so you just move it to it. Yeah, I think so. Should be fine. And this one. Yep, should be fine. Okay. Tab out. Yeah, it's not too bad. Not as bad as before. I mean, really, if you wanted to, you could just stare at it the whole day and try and make micro corrections to it, but we don't have that time. Okay. Alright, so this is the tutorial which taught us how to make this blade part. Alright. And our last tutorial will be making this part here of the blade, the blade teeth. Okay? And after that we will be doing UV mapping. So how do we basically make the texture maps? And then we're going to jump into some Photoshop. We're going to make some textures for the weapon. And after that we are going to hop into PMD editor for those who use MMD. And we're going to try and import the model into MMD after making bones and physics and everything else that comes with it. Alright, I hope it's been useful so far. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments section below. If you have any comments, queries, etc. Yeah. Alright then, I'll see you on the next guide.